Understanding the different health thresholds in Space Station 14 can make a big difference whether or not you want to actually try to take a fight, whether you need to go to medical, or whether you could just walk it off. Also, being able to examine what type of damage you have directly, even without a health analyzer, at least get a general idea, could also be a big help, and especially even what type of medicine you need to take. When you are considered healthy by the game standards, aka you have 100% health down to, I think it's like 87% health or something, the numbers are kind of not easy to understand without literally looking into them. So when you are at 100 health, your health status will be good. Even if you take a little bit of damage, so I'll take like 5 damage, my health is still good. So when we drop down to 13 damage, as soon as we take the 13th point of damage, we are down to okay health. Have taken 13 damage up to 38 damage, your health status will be okay. So once you end up taking that 38 points of damage, but I keep burning myself here. This is literally the only way I could figure out how to do this was by doing it in increments of 1. So yeah, once you end up taking 38 damage, at least as a human with 100 health to crit, your health status will go to poor. Now from 38 damage to 63, it will remain poor. Once you hit 63 damage, it will now be bad. Which I find it interesting that like your health status looks that scary at bad. It is also worth mentioning as soon as you take 60 damage, you will slow down by 20%. Now, the final health status you will receive is at 88 damage, so from 63 to 88 damage, it will just be bad. However, once you reach 80 damage total as a human, or as just a player mob in general, you'll slow down an additional 20%. So the damage threshold slowdowns do not even correlate with your health status. So something to keep in mind is that these numbers don't really correlate with each other. There is no relation between how slow you are with the damage you have, and the percentages are not something you're going to easily memorize. And then the final health status indicator is at 88% damage, or just 88 damage. You will gain a skull icon next to the bad and an exclamation point. Once you take 100 damage, you will enter a critical state, and it will be a flashing indicator that's crit. And when you finally die, if you stay in your body, it will say dead and you will be flatlined. If you do not have a health analyzer though, and say you're trying to observe somebody else's health and get a general idea of what's wrong with them, you can always shift click them and click the heart icon, and it will tell you their obvious wounds. These thresholds are also different from each other and don't follow any consistency, so this is helpful but not super helpful. Upon taking 25 blunt damage, if you shift click somebody and examine them, you'll have minor contusions. If somebody has taken over 50 blunt damage, it will say major bruises. If somebody has taken 75 or more blunt damage, it'll say completely covered in lesions. Heat damage follows the same damage indicators. 25 damage is minor burns. 50 damage is major burns. 75 damage is severe third-degree burns. There is only one piercing indicator currently in the game, and it's at 50 pierce damage, and it'll say deep wounds all over their body. Also, while we're here, if you see somebody with piercing or slash damage, they're most likely going to be having some level of bleeding, and if somebody looks pale, that means they are currently taking blood loss damage. That indicator will instantly go away, though, the moment that they are not taking blood loss damage, meaning that their blood level is recovered to a healthy amount. So, at high levels of bleeding, there is profusely bleeding, aka if you're bleeding more than 50% of the bleed capacity, you'll be profusely bleeding, and when you drop below that 50% amount, you'll just be bleeding. And interestingly enough, slash damage actually has a 10 damage threshold, which is called minor cuts. This is when you have more than 10 slash. When you have more than 25, it'll upgrade that has lacerations. When you have more than 50, it'll upgrade to major gashes, and then more than 75 is completely mauled. And finally, when you take more than 50 shock damage, it will be has electrical shock marks across their body. So that is all of the health examinable options that you can see without a health analyzer to give you a rough idea of how to either self-treat yourself or treat somebody else if you do not have a health analyzer. Also, there is visual marks on the bodies, like if they see just like these burn marks, they either have heat or shock damage. If there's like just slash marks, then it's some form of brute damage, but you may not clearly know. Other than that, that is basically everything there is to know about your health at a glance, and thank you for watching.